Good morning, junior scientists. How are we all feeling today? I'm the resident rainbow scientist here at Street Science, and I'm really excited to be here because I get to do this seriously fun science with all of you. Now, Brian's already chucked up a poll for this morning, and that's all about me. Because I'm out in the community when I'm able to. And, well, a lot of you might see me at your birthday parties in schools, but you also might know me as that lady holding the fire in our introductory videos, which is pretty exciting. I just want to take a moment to remind everybody that this week our Ultimate Scientist Kits are actually back in stock, and they are packed full of a whole bunch of amazing things that you can use to conduct your own experiments at home. Now, that offer is going to be on that screen. All you need to do is click that button and follow along those links. And, well, a lot of those items I'm actually going to be using in today's session, which is all about bubbles. And I love bubbles. I'm sure all of you kids love bubbles too. But let's check out where we're tuning in from. A whole bunch of you, 65% of you, have already seen me before, and that's absolutely amazing. It's good to have you back, guys. But for everybody else, I want to know where you're tuning in from. Most of the time, we've got a whole bunch of people in Australia tuning in, but I'd love to see if we're out there all around the world anywhere. We got some regional Queenslanders. Welcome to the show. We've got a whole 9% of you guys. That's absolutely amazing. We got a hello from Victoria. We've got some New South Wales and the ACT tuning in. Only 1% from South Australia and Western Australia, but no one from overseas yet. Come on, guys. Share the word. Get it out there all over the globe because we're going to be having some serious fun today. So, pretty good stuff. We've got 79% from Southeast Queensland, which makes sense because that's where we're based. And we're out in schools all the time when we're able to be. But before we get into the science, I suppose, I've actually got a few little birthday wishes to say to you guys today. And there is a 3-year-old out there today whose name is Pippa. Happy birthday, legend. Thank you so much for tuning in. We love that you love science just as much as us, and thank you for being here on this journey today. But there's also one more. We've got Asher. Asher, it's your birthday as well. Thank you for being here, and a massive happy birthday to you guys as well. So we've gone through our first little introductions, so let's get into the science. And like I said, all about bubbles. But let's start with the science behind bubbles. Like, where are they? How do they form? What are they? And, well, if you have any questions that you want to be asking me about these bubbles, about anything that I do today, we've disabled the chat, but our Facebook post. Go onto our Facebook and you'll be able to see the thread. Type your comments away after the show. I'll be on there for about half an hour asking any of your science questions. I've also got a shout out, if you've managed to tune in, Miss Anna and the Kindy kids from Albany Creek, the Boulevard. Good start. Hi, guys. It's really good to see you here as well. So, bubbles. Sound like that little fish from Finding Nemo. Bubbles. What are bubbles? Well, bubbles, quite simply, are gases that are caught in sandwiches of bubbles. Water, soap. Soap, water, soap. But here I've got just some plain water. Now, the surface tension, which I'm pretty sure Science Steve was talking to you about on Friday, that surface tension is pretty high on this average everyday water. I've got a straw, one from those Ultimate Science kits, and when I place that straw inside, as I gently blow, you might be able to see we've got little air bubbles forming. But as they rise to the surface, because that surface tension is so high, those bubbles, they're popping. That's not a lot of fun. But we can lower that surface tension down. And we do that quite simply by adding in some detergent. Once we've added in a few little drops of detergent, all of a sudden, those water molecules, they start to separate out. That lowered surface tension is going to help us capture that gas. Ready? I'll blow in again. We have bubbles, but we also have bubbles popping. Now, bubbles pop for a whole bunch of different reasons. One could be a finger going along, popping along. But when they're floating off in the sky all around us, it's generally like air turbulence. But because bubbles, they're made from water, what happens when water sits outside? It evaporates totally, yeah? And same thing with those bubbles. As they're floating away, that water starts to evaporate. And if there's no water in that soap sandwich, pop, there goes the bubble. But we can also capture other gases inside those bubbles. And, well, I have a material that you guys might be quite familiar with, liquid nitrogen. Now, when we are able to warm liquid nitrogen up, which is pretty easy because it sits at negative 196 degrees, when it sits at room temperature, it warms up, it turns into a gas. And if I can capture that gas with a little bit of bubble mixture, I can actually blow bubbles with liquid nitrogen. Do you guys want to see that? Would that be something that you'd want to try out? You want to see this? Well, I'm going to get you down onto my table here. I'm going to start by lowering you down. Come and have a look what I've got set up here. Excellent. All right, we've got our spill tray. We also have our device, my sidearm flask with a little tube coming down the bottom. Now, let's get prepared with some safety. I've got some safety gloves. I've got my street science safety glasses on. Ultimate Science Kit, check them out, right? Then all I need is a little bit of liquid nitrogen. So as I very carefully pour some into my flask, you're going to see it start to warm up. It starts to change, and that's that. And that beautiful cloud you see coming out the top, that's not the liquid nitrogen. That liquid nitrogen is so cold, it's actually able to freeze all the water in the air around us. Now, the gas that's forming, well, that's warming up, that's changing, it's growing and expanding, is able to escape out the top of my flask here. Now, if I'm able, I can dip the end of my little bubble blower into some bubble mix here. And nothing starts to happen because it's all coming out the top. But what about when I put a stopper on top? Whoa, hang on. Let's try that again, right? We dip it in, and this time I might bring it over just a little bit more, aiming that tube up, and whoa, we had one bubble. One more try. Come on, guys. Dipping it on in. Let's get a nice bubble forming, capturing that liquid nitrogen gas inside a soap sandwich to make some pretty amazing science bubbles. All right, guys, let's come on back up the top here. Excellent. Nice. All right. We've got heaps of different types of bubbles to get in today. I know liquid nitrogen bubbles, they're pretty exciting. They're pretty full on. But I've actually got the first bubble maker that was ever invented. And I've got it here today. It's pretty high tech. Like, it's going to blow your mind. Are you ready to see the first ever invented bubble blowing machine? I don't think you are. My gosh, all right. Are you sure you're ready? It was a metal straw. Totally, dudes. Back in the early 1900s, little metal straws were used to blow bubbles. Pretty simple. All they had to do was dip the end of their straws into some bubble mix and come on, Bubbles, you got to work for me today. I can't be the only one doing. One more try. Scientists, they can never give up. Let's give it one more go. There we go. Maybe one more. Hours and hours of fun. Kids would be outside breathing through these little straws, blowing heaps of bubbles. Anyone in early education, kids that need a bit of a calm down, these are the types of things that really help them focus their breathing. And then all of a sudden, everybody's feeling nice and calm. But we've come a long way since the early 1900s. In fact, we've been able to increase our bubble production by using some new amazing technology. We can make bubble blowing devices. Now, bubble blowing devices work by using a motor to power a fan, similar to our breath, but in a constant stream. There's no breathing in a bubble machine. It can just constantly blow that amazing air. But they also need a spinning wheel. And on that spinning wheel, they have tiny, tiny little circles. As those circles turn around, they dip into some bubble mixture, they come back up, and the fan blows a beautiful stream. But we can also add in a few musical tunes like this high-tech bubble blowing device right here. All I have to do is press this little button and all of a sudden, we have hundreds of bubbles being blown around all over the place, and it's pretty fun indeed. Now, I'm sure you've actually noticed that all of these bubbles, as they blow around, they're all forming circles. And, well, why is that? It's a pretty simple explanation. Because circles, those spheres, they take up less surface area. It takes up less energy for that bubble sandwich to form in that beautiful circle. If it was trying to make, say, something like a cube or a cylinder, that takes up a lot more energy. So it's way easier to make it in a circle. And that's why bubbles, they're constantly trying to make those circles so that they can use less energy to float around all over the place. All right, so we've gone through some tech. Bubble making, I don't want to be selfish and just like have all the fun here today. So another thing that we might like to do is engineer our own bubble blowing devices. There's heaps of different ways that you can do them, but my favorite are going to be the ones that I show you how to make today. Now, in your Ultimate Scientist kit, not only are you going to get these awesome safety glasses that help protect your eyes from those nasty little bubble poppers as they come into your face, but you'll also find inside some paddle pop sticks. Now, all you need to do is tie a piece of string between those two paddle pop sticks. When you dip your cotton into your bubble mixture and open and lift, you're going to have some pretty amazing bubbles formed. But I tried that out before we went live today, and I had a massive slippery mess all over the floor. I didn't want to faceplant on live screen. So I'm not going to show you how that one works, but if you're interested, it's very easy to try out at home. Another popular method is using pipe cleaners, because pipe cleaners, they're made of a bendy and malleable metal, and you're able to change the shapes of those pipe cleaners to make these awesome little full circles that you can dip into your bubble mixture. If you've got super hairy or super fluffy pipe cleaners, you might want to give them a little haircut before you dip them inside that bubble mix. But why stop at a little circle? You could turn them into any shape you want. All you need to do is dip them in that bubble mix, take them outside, and you can test it out. See which one you find the best bubble blowing device. But let's ramp it up even further, because if you're able to have a cleaning cloth, a little chucks, it might be tricky for you to see, but there are tiny, tiny little holes all through those chucks. And if you get something like a PVC pipe, or if you're at home, toilet rolls do work too. They just don't work for very long because that cardboard, it's going to soak up the bubble mixture and then all of a sudden you're going to have a sloppy mess. But you should be able to make some pretty cool bubbles before that happens. All you need to do with your PVC pipe and your Chuck's cleaning cloth is place it over the end. Then all you need to do is fasten it with an elastic band, and hey presto, I just engineered my very own bubble blowing device. Do you guys want to see how it works? All right, well, all I need is some bubble mix. I can dip it into my little bubble tray here, which is actually a Petri dish, which we have in those ultimate science kits as well. You'll have a few different trays to fill your bubble mix in. All right, we've got our bubble blowing loaded and ready to go. Now all I need to do is capture that air in those little soap bubbles. Ready? Let's give it a go. We have a bubble snake! That was amazing. And the reason those bubbles are all coming out in one giant, great, big, long snake is because those little bubbles, well, they're able to stick to each other. Because if I put my finger on that bubble, it's just going to pop. If I was to cover my finger with, say, some of that bubble mixture, all of a sudden, I'm able to touch those little bubbles, and they're actually trying to stick to my hands. Well, you can see right there, we're able to touch those bubbles when we've got bubble mix on our hands. But if I was to touch it with a dry finger and it pops, well, the reason that is, if you could zoom in on your fingers, they're not flat like a nice metal tray. They're also very dry. And when we touch those bubbles, all those little spiky ends on our fingertips, our fingerprints, well, they're able to penetrate the surface of that sandwich bubble, which makes them explode. We've also got a lot of body temperature, heat. And what happens when we heat up water? It evaporates. And I think I mentioned earlier that when water evaporates inside a bubble, that also makes them pop. But don't stress out. If your bubbles are popping, all you need to do is make some more. I actually want to give this one another go. That was pretty amazing. Let's see. My magic bubbles, my science bubble snake. That's so amazing and so simple, yet heaps and heaps of fun. But let's keep going because you can change up the size of your pipes. Like my PVC pipe, it's quite thin, but my other PVC pipe, quite thick. If I am to take some cotton and dip my cotton over the end of my PVC pipe, one like so, another like so, all I need to do now, fasten it with an elastic band. I can make my strings nice and tight, nice and taut. And now I have a cool little 4-sectioned circle. We've got 4 little like pizza slices in there. What do you think is going to happen when I try to blow through this guy? We have tiny, tiny, tiny little holes on this pipe, but we have 4 great big holes on this pipe. Do you think that could affect the bubbles that form? Only one way to find out. Let's test it. So I'm going to dip my new bubble making device into my bubble mix nice and carefully. And let's give this guy a go. Ready? We've got huge bubbles forming. And there, we've got one floating away. We'll give it another go. Let's see if we can get a fat bubble snake blowing. We had a great big fat but very short bubble snake. And well, that's because in my tiny little tube, all of those little bubbles were able to capture a little bit of air, and I've only got the same amount of breath. Over here, those bubbles have a lot more space. They take a lot more breath, so I can't blow as many, but I can blow them much bigger, which is pretty amazing. Let's move on to, say, some maths. Now, don't tune out. No, don't tune out. I know that you might think that maths is boring, but it can actually be really fun, especially when we can use it to measure out the best bubble mixture of all time. These are known as Durabubbles. They're like super hardy, and if you get bubble mix on your hands, you should actually be able to bounce them around at the same time. All you need is some water. In fact, if you can measure out 2 cups of hot water and place it into a jar, that's the best place to start. Then you take a 1/4 of a cup. So a 1/4 of our big cup. 4 of these guys equal 1 of these guys, which is pretty awesome. We take 1/4 cup, and we add it full of dishwashing detergent. Then we take a tablespoon. We take 1 big tablespoon of gelatin powder. You can also use sugar, but gelatin powder works the best. We use hot water because gelatin, when it sinks into cold water, it wants to clump together and become like all ooey and gooey like a booger. Like, I know you kids love boogers, but boogers aren't really good for bubbles. So we use nice hot water so that we can dissolve that gelatin in. Then finally, the secret ingredient, glycerin. We use 2 tablespoons of our glycerin and we add it on in. You need to start stirring that mixture around and around, but because it's really warm, you need to let it chill out. That's why I have here that exact recipe inside this glass. 2 cups of water, 1/4 of a cup of soap. We have 1 tablespoon of gelatin powder. We've got 2 tablespoons of glycerin. Let's see how it goes. Not bad. Let's give her another whirl. I'm making a massive mess in here. Oh my goodness, guys. Hopefully, I'm not going to slip over. There's still time though. Yeah, it could happen. But let's continue on. Because today, not only are you making your own bubbles at home, but you can make some really cool and colorful bubbles. Like, I'm sure you can see my hair here. Rainbows, heaps of different colors, blues, greens, purples, oranges. It's what I'm famous for. But I also love doing super colorful things. And one very simple way to have a lot of fun with these bubbles at home is by adding in some food coloring. I'm going to take you on down to my table here, guys. I'm sorry, it's a little bit of a mess, but science is messy. Don't stress out. All we need to do is clean it up when we are finished. So come on down. I'll show you what we're doing. Excellent. All right, so we've got our little bubble blowing device. Now, all we need to do is very carefully add in a few drops of food coloring to our bubble mix. Now, you can be quite scientific about this. You can count out your drops of food coloring as you add them into your bubble mixture to see the effect they have. But how would we see the effect they'd have? We could capture those bubbles on a piece of paper. So let's add in, say, 2 drops to start. 1, 2. All right, we've got 2 drops of food coloring. Mix it around just a little bit and, oh, I can see a fair bit of color on here. Let's blow them and see what happens. Whoa. I got a mad splatter pattern. That's pretty amazing. But when these bubbles pop perfectly, you can get some pretty amazing shapes forming. Let's try one more with our 2 drops. Whoa! You can see this guy right here, a perfect little popped bubble right on my paper. That actually looks like a perfect amount of coloring, but let's try a little bit more. Let's go maybe another 2 drops of, I missed. Another 2 drops of food coloring. Mix it all around. And will we have a different color? Will it be darker? Will it be lighter? Let's find out. Whoa! It made a massive mess, but it's really pretty. It's really cool. And one of the things I used to do as a kid was I used to color bubble mix, and instead of using wrapping paper, I would create some beautiful artworks with a whole bunch of different colors. All you need to do is add in a few drops of your food coloring and get creative. Whoa! We've got pink little bubbles all over my paper there now. Can you see all those tiny little drops? Now, like I said, slippery floors can happen from bubble mix. So if you're trying this out at daycare or at home, the best place is outside in the backyard. We don't want to be staining the carpet, all right? But anyone in daycare, if you want to set up some easels outside, you can get some butcher's paper, you can get some cardboard, you place it underneath those easels, and not only are you getting beautiful paper artworks, you've got a group collage falling on the floor as well. Let's finish off with our green bubbles. And I think I've been a bit of a Picasso here. What do you reckon, Brian? Is this the most beautiful bubble art you've ever seen in your life?
Yes.
I don't know, you hesitated there, mate, but that's okay, because I'm sure you guys at home are going to do an amazing job of doing this yourself. So, coloured bubbles. Bubbles which are little sandwiches of soap, water, soap. Because water is such a particular substance, it has a positive end and a negative end. And, well, all of those molecules, they're going to form positive to negative, and they're going to stay really close together, which is why it has such a high surface tension. But when you lower that surface tension with those soap molecules, all of a sudden, when you've got your positive, negative water molecules, we have soap molecules that are at the bottom. We got soap molecules that are at the top, and they're pushing that water together, separating those bonds, creating those elastic, lovely bubbles that you all know and love. All right, let's take you back up, guys. We'll have one more little chat, because I've just realized it's almost time for me to go, which is sad because I've had an absolutely amazing time here with you guys today. And if you want to continue the science conversation at home, I will be online for half an hour on our Facebook site. Come on over, drop me some comments, drop me some questions. If you've loved the show, make sure you let me know, yeah? I am trying to beat the boss, and the more comments you give me, the closer I get. So, I want to know, I've got a poll up on the screen here, guys. Which was your favorite bubble blowing device? There were a few. We had the big bubble snake. We had the tiny little bubble snake. We had our pipe cleaners. We had our amazing bubble wand. Which one were your favorite? Oh, the colored bubbles are in the lead by, the big snake pipes catching up. We're about both at about 30%, which is hilarious because the bubble snake was like the hardest for me to blow. I guess you guys at home were having a little laugh along there too. Now, if you loved those colored bubbles as much as I did, you know what? Science is all about trying new things. You might want to take some of those engineered bubble devices that you made at home and then use them with some of your colored bubble mix. So I've got some of my pink bubble mix here. I'm going to add it into my Petri dish. Oh my goodness. Fingers crossed this doesn't get messy, right? In goes the bubble tube. And we have a pink bubble on the end. Let's blow it onto my paper. Whoa! Check it out. We've got this massive splatter all across the paper there. That's way bigger than any of the others. So this is something that I would love for you to try out at home. But if you're having some success with that, please do share your results. And the best way to share them with me, jumping on that Facebook site. Make sure you're taking photos of those beautiful pieces of art, any group collaborations I want to see, because Brian doesn't seem to think this could be the best bubble painting ever. And I'm sure one of you guys out there are going to show me who has got what it takes to be the ultimate bubble master. All right. Well, I guess there's only one thing left to do, really, and that's to get ready to say goodbye. Don't forget about our Ultimate Science kits. They are available and we have them in stock. They flew out the door last time we got them. It was so hard for us to keep up, but we've gathered all of our materials. They're rip-roaring and raring for you, but be quick. I hope you don't miss out because they went real fast last time. Now, I have a feeling that most of you know me from that video that starts before our clips each day. And that's with me holding a beautiful amount of fire in my hands. Now, I'm able to do that because I can use science very safely. And, well, one of the keys is using bubbles. I can actually make a really amazing but super secret mixture that is able to capture and hold a very impressive gas. And, well, that gas is flammable. When I put safety equipment all over my hands, I can hold that bubble mixture, I can set it on fire and safely hold that fire in my hand. But this is going to be my grand finale, guys. I'm going to have to say see you later after this. Make sure you jump in on the Facebook site. Make sure you jumping into the store. But don't forget about our virtual classroom. Sorry, our STEM squad. If you're on the website, make sure you click on over. Tuesdays and Thursdays, Dr. Shaz and I, we're running fully interactive lessons on science that you guys are able to see us. We're able to see you. We can answer your questions face to face and have some real fun with that science in a really amazing way. So let's get ready. Grand finale time. We've got my special bubbles, but I've also got my special gas. I'm going to get that ready off to the side here. And safety. I've got my safety glasses. I then need my special safety solution. Placing it all over my hands. And are you ready for that grand finale? We've got a whole bunch of bubbles ready to go. I don't know, I think I need a few more. Yeah, let's get a few more. Let's really get a nice big ending to this amazing time we've had today. And that's a lot of bubbles. All right. Here we go, guys. All we need to do is count down together in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and how amazing was that? I can do that safely because I understand my science, guys. I hope you've had just as much fun as I have, and I'll see you at the STEM Squad or on Facebook real soon. See you later, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.
We love science so much here at Street Science. We teach kids about science and we do it in a really, really cool way. We're going to be teaching the science of fireworks. We're going to be working with liquid nitrogen, some amazing visual stuff. It looks and feels just like smoke. Let's ramp things up a little bit. Who likes fireworks? I'm going to try and shoot these cups off your head. Not by using magic or anything crazy, just by using science that we can't see. Can you guys see a liquid in there? Got that dark patch at the bottom. That's Laura's breath. Can we sneak in one more quick demo? We love science so much here at Street Science.